Show me right from wrong. Give me light, make me strong. I know the road is long. Make me strong.
Of Imrul Qais, of Antara, various others. We can compare from the poetry. We can compare from also the speech of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How he spoke from the hundreds and thousands of hadith, forged or authentic. We can compare the speech. So we have now three things to compare: speech of the Arabs from the pre-Islamic poetry in that time, the Quran itself, and the statements of the Prophet. When we compare, this is what we find. It is unlike how they spoke.
The Quran is distinct from all of those other sources.
Distinct in what way? The number out of 256 words. The new features is over 300. This is not just for this surah. If I am not mistaken, every single surah of the Quran, the newness that the Quran brings within the ayat, within the words, it exceeds the number of words within the surahs. So when they heard this chapter, Surah Al-Muddathir, Prophet recited from here to there, and only thing they were accustomed to is just one ayah. Can you imagine the shock they had?
So that's all they were used to in their own language at that time.
Everything else is different, in one form or the other. And this is an objective way of ascertaining, verifying the uniqueness of the challenge of the Quran. Because it's not about beauty anymore. Okay? So it's not about someone being very genius, it's about actually showing you this is how the Quran is unique in its delivery. How is this so? To give you an example of iltifat. Okay? Iltifat is a rhetorical transition. How the speech translates or transfers from one form to the other. For example, I'm speaking about you and suddenly speaking about them and coming back to you, but you don't even notice. Yeah? This is a unique feature that is really profound within the Quran. Almost every single surah. The first chapter of Surah Al-Fatiha that we read, so many examples within it. Okay? Even the chapter. But because we are accustomed to the Quran hearing every day, reading every day, in Ramadan, in our everyday teaching and learnings, in our prayers, that we read them aloud, we have somehow being what? In a way, desensitized to this uniqueness, because it doesn't appear to us anymore like this is unique. But if you were transported back to that time, and you heard it first time, you will have a linguistic shock now. I mean, you know what to say. And this is exactly what happened to the first listeners who were best of their poets. When they heard, in fact, some of them, in their shock, they died, collapsed and died. We have reports like this. People collapsed and they died. This is how it was shocking to them. Some said, "Ma hadha qawlun bashar." This is not even the statement of any human being, because they know what the statement of a human being is. So, it may be difficult for us who are not Arabic, not into literature, to appreciate this, but when this is said, how the Quran brings this language into even within this new constructions, in its unique features, they were totally taken back by surprise and said, how can I say something like this? Okay. The examples that I have often given in the past that Muslims will appreciate, in the chapter that we said about Surah Al-Fatiha, about when we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, we say all praises and thanks and gratitude to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. In English, it doesn't sound any strange, anything special. I mean, what's so special about giving all the thanks and gratitude to God, Lord of the worlds? But not what it said and how it said. Let's look at the construct. The Arabs, at that time, they were familiar with Lord. God is the Lord. They're familiar with gratitude. They're familiar with the universe. But they were never familiar in their expression to start with any words of gratitude with definitive article at the beginning of a sentence, like Alhamdu. They would never say such a thing. You will find hundreds and thousands of poetry, you will not find a single instance of this usage. They would use this gratitude in the middle of a sentence with definitive article, never in the beginning. They would say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alam, perhaps, Lord of the world, because how many worlds are there? In their understanding, one world. The Quran came to them and said, Lord of all the worlds. There are many worlds. Rabbul Alameen. It is not in the imagination there are more than one world. Lord of all the worlds. Now, if somebody were to ask, bring a statement like that, how can they bring something like it? I mean, you now make me totally, silent to bring Lord of the worlds. There is only one world. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin. They know what Malik is. King. Malik or Malik. Master. They know what it means. They know what Yawm means, day. They know what Deen means. Deen could be the day of reward or punishment, day of recompense. They know that what it means. But look at the construct. God, praises and gratitude to be Allah, Lord of all the worlds, the one who is most gracious, most merciful, full of mercy, the one who is the master of the day of judgment. The Arabs would be in shock like this. What? They are familiar in their life, in their expression, that you can be a master of a house, master of a horse, master of these utensils, these things and that things, master of this land, master of this country, but never a master or owner of time. You cannot be master of time.
They never heard of it.
Master of the day of judgment, someone is a master of that day? Never. Not in their vocabulary, not in their expression, not in their understanding and the imagination. So when they heard he is master of the day of judgment, now look at the transformation they're having. So how are they going to bring something like it? This is a chapter that we are talking about, this chapter, but making you understand from another chapter that Muslims read every time, and they will appreciate the novelty within the language. How are they going to be able to bring something like it? It's not bringing something, it's like bringing something totally unique and true. Now we know there are many worlds in so many ways, right? Many, many worlds. Our earth is not the only world. In fact, the visual part of our world is not the only world. There could be various others, right?
Quran said 1400 years before.
So
Worlds.
our world is huge and vast. But the Quranic usage of this word, Alameen, encompasses every possible world. World of humans, world of the jinns, world of the matter, world of the spirits. Look at the expression of Alameen, like this expression about openness in the language. Any world that you can think of, spiritual, material, encompasses within it. Multiple worlds, multiple universes, encompasses it. In every possible way. The language, how it's chosen. The whole chapter goes on like this. It transforms from Maliki Yawmiddin, then Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. It jumps from Lord of the Worlds to show us, guide us to a straight path. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. But before that, we worship you only, and to you only we ask for help and assistance. Look at the transition. Suddenly it was God who is speaking about truth. The Prophet is teaching this. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praises be to God, Lord of the world.
This teaching was already there.
My friend, I can speak to you later, right?
This teaching was already there.
Yeah.
That was a point.
What
A similar
was the
point I
new?
was going to make.
It's not about, remember what I said. It's not about,
What was the new?
I just told you, it's not about what is only said. How is it said? Yeah? When the Quran says God is one, is this unique? It's not unique. But how is God saying
Why
these
it's
things?
not unique? How? How do you see it?
And now he's disputing that. Did Abraham believe God is one? Yes.
Yes?
Peace be upon the Prophet Abraham and upon all the prophets. So how it is said? So the Quran is giving us the message of guidance, but in a way it is said makes it inimitable and a proof for itself. Proof for itself that it is a divine source for it. So when the Quran gives you this chapter, tells you about the Prophet, oh Prophet, go and warn, glorify and magnify your Lord. You can understand that. You can understand glorifying God. You can understand like wake up and warn others. Stand up and warn, right? But stand up to what? And warn to what?
Obviously against the practices that are going on at the time.
David said all these things in Psalm, in Zabur. All these things are mentioned.
You see?
I know, but what he said is, even though that some of the message has been given previously, the way that it was given in this particular time period within the Quran is unique. That's what he was saying.
That's the uniqueness of it.
There were words that did not exist at that time.
And they weren't using that context.
So when the Quran, for example, say like Al-Faz al-Jadida, there's 14 totally different words. But how does Quran bring and introduce new words? If I talk to
Sounds like Chinese.
what did you understand, my friend? None of it. Suppose I said I spoke to you English. You don't have a clue what I said. Yeah? If I claimed I brought these new words, new expression, new sentences, but when I said it to you, you'd have understood as you admitted. Zilch. None. The Quran introduced new words, they understood the meaning of it. How is that possible? Because the Quran used their language and used a different pattern of this word, a different derivatives of this word, different form of these words, which they are never ever used in their language, in their vocabulary, and it then explain the meaning. For example, the Quran. I mean, now I'm going to really bring back to the basics. The word Quran didn't exist in the vocabulary. The word ayah that I talked about, they didn't even know what an ayah was. Surah. Every single thing about the Quran, its chapter, its verses, these concepts are totally new. But the Quran introduced, it says, okay, Allah has revealed this Quran in which is guidance, in which its verses and ayat are explained in detail. If I told you, this is a book, the Quran that God has revealed to you, you would know this Quran is a book which has been revealed. And I said, this is the book which explains, this Quran explained, you would know this Quran is a book that explains. So the Quran introduced this form of this word and explained at the same breath what it was. So the first listener, when this heard this new concept, it was an alien and Chinese to them.
My Lord, show me right from wrong. Give me light, man.